of success is persevering through the journey and coming out of that not all messed up, but coming out of it thankful for the lessons that you learned from it. Because I think that we all do go through struggles. Sometimes, hey, if everything was easy in the world, that'd be great, but we wouldn't have any great stories to talk about. But I think success to me, the measure of that is setting out to do something, having a game plan, going through that. The dream is always what you focus on. The goal can be adjusted. You can always change the way you get to that dream. But watching people persevere and get there, I think that's my definition of success. Watching people be tenacious and achieve what they set out to do, no matter what.
So if there was one word that defines Ken, what would that be?
The word that describes Ken, tenacious. Absolutely tenacious. I've never usually let a lot stop me, and I'm a fighter. And if I want to try something, I'll try it. And if I'm not good at it, I will be determined to get better at it, but I never give up. It's one of the things I've shared with my girls. I've always said to my daughters, you're a G, you don't give up. Well, horse racing is so much more than going and showing up and watching a horse run around the track. Like, I think most people take for granted that when they show up at the track, these horses are ready to run. There's people that are riding the horses, they're going around, and there are people that serve you food when you go. Horse racing is a massive industry that employs tens of thousands of people in Alberta. And there's ways that different people, stakeholders in the industry are involved. The people that actually own the horses. There are people that train the horses. They're the people that provide the supplies, the food, the maintenance of the track. There's commentators. There's a wagering industry that's involved. So there's just so many pieces of the industry, and people say, well, how could there be possibly tens of thousands of people involved? It's a whole business community out there, just like any other kind of industry. So that's what most people don't know about. I never looked back. And it was one of the best experiences of my life in business was pulling that off, knowing that I did that and proving to myself that I could do it. I'm sure there's many people that are listening to the show today that are thinking about entering the entrepreneur journey, about getting your own business started up, and it can be really scary. I was probably more scared than some of you that are listening to this, but hey, if I can do it, you guys can do it. And sometimes it takes having a mentor, right? I was very fortunate to have some mentors that helped me in my business journey. So I'm extremely thankful for that.
In a world filled with possibilities, one truth stands out. Everyone is a pathfinder in their own journey. Whether it's charting new territories in leadership, embracing the future with technology, or nurturing humanity, pathfinders are everywhere. Pathfinders, a platform built for everyone. We believe in the power of connection, the spark of curiosity, and the potential to inspire. Here we bring people together, not just as professionals, but as dreamers, thinkers, and change makers. Through engaging podcasts, thought-provoking digital conferences, and dynamic audio roundtables, and many more, we create spaces for meaningful conversations. We celebrate those who seek to understand, innovate, and lead. People like you. Pathfinders inspires. Pathfinders embraces technology. And above all, Pathfinders spreads a vision where leadership, innovation, and humanity converge to shape a better and brighter future. We are here to connect, to build bridges that transcend barriers, to share stories that matter, and to foster a community driven by passion and purpose. Be a part of this journey. Be a Pathfinder. Welcome to Pathfinders. Hey everyone, welcome to Pathfinders. Folks, today we are going to speak to a gentleman, an amazing human being, Ken G. He has boundless energy, multifaceted talents, and a passion for connection. Ken has been the driving force behind AK Media as its owner and executive producer, a role he cherishes as a writer, producer, and on-air talent. He's honed a remarkable knack for interviewing, crafting impactful messaging, and steering strategic marketing plans and winning events, all fueled by an expansive network that stretches across Calgary, Edmonton, and North America. In parallel, Ken has electrified the horse racing world as an announcer, serving as a race caller, analyst, and a paddock reporter with an encyclopedic knowledge of thoroughbred, harness, and quarter horse racing. A former racing official and a thoroughbred owner, his expertise is as thrilling as the race he calls. Alongside all of this, for more than 2.5 years, Ken also shown as a member relations powerhouse at the Edmonton Chamber of Commerce, mastering business development, producing the beloved Coffee with the Chamber, and advocating for local businesses with strategic brilliance. After his role with the Chamber, he poured his full focus into AK Media, continuing to dominate the airwaves as a racing announcer. Before all this, Ken built an impressive 18-year foundation at Transitions Moving and Logistics, orchestrating global office and commercial relocations with precision. Ken is a passionate community builder, an award-winning entrepreneur, and a poised communicator who lives for the stories people share. A former radio and TV broadcaster, philanthropist, negotiator, and a serial business owner. He wields his diverse skills to propel clients and stakeholders towards their goals. He's fluent in English and Chinese, a horse racing fan, a published author, friend to the homeless, and a ravenous foodie. Ken's accolades, like the Primus Award of Excellence, reflect the brilliance and humanity. With networks that spans across continents and a spirit that transforms every interaction, Ken is not just a leader, he's extraordinary in the making and a humble human being. Ken, my friend, welcome to Pathfinders. It's been an absolute pleasure to sit down with you.
That's very kind of you, VJ. I feel like with qualifications like that, I should be much older. Thank you for having me on the show.
No, it's a true honor, and I'm so looking forward to getting into the chat. And I always love to chat with you. We have done many of this in the chamber interactions and whatnot. So how did it all start, Ken? Where did this all begin? How was your early ages growing up? What was your childhood like? If you can walk us through your journey a little bit.
Right. Well, I'm the youngest of four. I would be in the fourth generation Canadians. My great grandparents actually came to Canada, and I think where a lot of my communication skills came into place is, of course, growing up as the child of an immigrant family. My mom and dad didn't speak a lot of English when I was young. And so I was forever being their translator. So as you can imagine, from a very young age, going out with my mom and dad to whatever they needed to do, I had to learn the English language pretty quickly and be able to translate for them and do a lot of speaking on their behalf. So I think that's really where my passion for communication and my experience with communication comes. But I'm born and raised in Edmonton. I'm a very passionate Albertan, involved in community, not only in Edmonton, but in Calgary.
Right. You have a passion for horse racing, and correct me if I'm wrong. You said like you were 5 years old when you were in the first horse race that you ever bet. Am I right? Something it got in early, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Actually, I was 4 years old. My dad said to me one day, I need to go and I need a bit of a break from work. Why don't we go to the horse races? And I remember I was a 4-year-old. I went to the horse races, went to the old Northlands Park in Edmonton for the very first time. I was amazed. I was like awestruck at seeing this big, huge, beautiful track with animals that I'd never seen before, horses running around. And I was just so in love with horse racing at that moment when I went and witnessed my first horse race. But I remember my dad, there was a wagering component to it. I didn't know anything about that. My dad just said to me, well, what horses do you like? What horse do you think might win this race? And I remember saying to my dad, well, I think that one, number 4. And my dad just having some fun with it and put a $2 win bet on that horse. And lo and behold, that horse won. And that $2 turned into $5. This is the typical racing experience when you're a punter, as they call them. My dad said, well, what do you want to do now? You got this $5. And I said, hey, let it ride, baby. And so we put that $5 to win on another horse. And as typical in the racing experience, that horse did not win and lost. But, from that point on, I was smitten with racing and learning all about horse racing in the industry. And it's been a lifelong love and passion of my horse racing, to the point where not only have I been a super fan of horse racing, of races around the world, but I've had the great fortune of being able to be a thoroughbred racehorse owner. And that was an experience that my daughters and I love. We were able to travel to watch our horses race throughout North America had an opportunity then to work in horse racing. And as you mentioned, I was a former racing official, and currently I still am a racing announcer and analyst.
Right.
There's a little bit of a cliche. Sometimes people say you should do what you love. I think most people are not able to do what they love because they still need to collect a paycheck. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I've been very blessed in my life that I've been able to do something that I love to do and get paid for.
Right. No, very, very interesting. Thanks for sharing that. And you also got into the logistics industry. Like, so so you are always racing the horses, going to the horse races, announcing it, and also did the logistics in parallel? Was it always like that?
Well, that's actually a long story, and it's kind of funny because besides horse racing, my other passion in life was communications. I actually started as a relatively precocious child and had an opportunity to do some public speaking when I was younger, and I decided at a very early age that broadcasting and public speaking, being a news reporter, was something that I wanted to do. News and sports reporter, actually. So I actually pursued that. I started my announcing career when I was a whole 14 years old as a professional announcer, being paid for that when I was in high school. So I announced all kinds of sports, community sports, then went to NAIT and took the radio and television arts program. Graduated from that as an honors graduate and became a news director because I was the only one in the department. So they made me news director. I got my first job as a radio, television broadcaster in my career, spanned many number of years. And after doing that, through whatever circumstances there, needed to make a career change and got into corporate sales. Didn't know if I could do it. Yeah, I actually kind of knew I could do it, but a lot of people didn't think I could. I transitioned into a corporate sales role, entered the moving industry, and had an opportunity to start my own moving and logistics company. And the rest is history. That was my primary business for a number of years. Thoroughly enjoyed the experience. And to me, it was more about the challenge about starting a business. As you know, as an entrepreneur, sometimes you go through this journey in life where business looks like it's the option for you, but it can be a little scary at times. I'm happy to say that I survived my business experience and had a blast. And it taught me so many lessons in life being in business.
Got it. Yeah, Ken, I mean, like every time I interact with you, there is a need. And I mean, like, I think there is a lot that plays also. I think you're empathetic to people. And I think you always try to put yourself in others' shoes. I've felt it actually many times. And you have worn multiple hats through your career as being a broadcaster, entrepreneur, philanthropy. And what is that thread that ties all of these like experiences together? There should be some common thread that ties all of this. What is that thread that ties Kenji together?
Well, I've always been a very inquisitive person. When I was a kid, I always wanted to learn how things worked. And as I got older, there was a time where I had to learn how to do things, right? Learning a trade or learning a skill. But I think always through that, I always had this natural curiosity. And really what I did was I went through this very, very long personal growth journey where I had to learn a lot about myself. I had to learn about interacting with people. And so I did a lot of personal growth in terms of how to learn about people and how to communicate people. Because in my younger years, as a late teen, I was probably the worst communicator ever. I was not a very likable guy. I was somebody that probably people never wanted to open up to and tell them things. So that was a skill I had to develop as a news reporter, because as you can imagine, jumping into a breaking news story and learning to gain the trust of people, the newsmakers, to tell you everything that they knew about the event that just happened. It was a skill that you would learn how to develop those relationships with people by phone within a couple of minutes. So I think really that's where I learned that skill about communicating with people. And really communication has always been the key. I really, really do enjoy learning about people. I love hearing people's stories. They always say that God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, because you should do more listening than you do speaking. And what I've really learned is that when you do stop and you listen to people's stories and you listen to what they tell you, everybody loves to tell you about themselves. And it's a matter of us listening and really trying to understand what people are telling us. So I think that has really helped me in the world of communications, whether it's through interviewing, because I love to interview people and find out about them. It's helped me in business because it has helped me develop that ability to really learn about people's businesses, what they are really wanting to tell us about their businesses. So I think communication, really, that has been the big thread.
Right. And then I mean, you're a public speaker, you announce races and you bring communities together, people together. What is that like if anyone listening, and what are some tips that you would give to be a better and effective communicator that you've seen and learned through your entire career? Is there something that you would help us share from your experience, please?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think that that's $1 million question on why some people are more effective in developing relationships with others. But it really, truly is taking an interest in other people and being sincere. Like, I think that it might be easier. It might be easy to stop and just say, yeah, I'm nodding while people are talking and telling me their story. But when you really are truly there to listen to somebody's story and not be in a hurry to think of trying to keep the conversation alive by thinking of your next question, but more so, thinking about what they're telling you so that there is a next question that is a natural next question to what people are telling you. Because I read a book one time, I think it might have been Zig Ziglar. It said that imagine when you meet with people, imagine on their foreheads there is a sign that says, make me feel important. And I've never forgotten that. People love to talk about themselves. People love to for you to be uplifted by what they're telling you, and they're always interested in your support. So I've really found that just stopping to listen to people, that's really the big thing, is not trying to elevate yourself, right? There's lots of time for that. I think we've always had the opportunity to talk about ourselves. But most of the time when we meet people, it is not to listen to ourselves talk about ourselves. There's time and a place for that.
No, that is absolutely true. Because like business, I've not gone through like an expansive career as yours. I'm still learning, and I've been behind a desk for a long time, and like in the corporate career. And now when we're actually approaching business, it needs a totally different mindset. It's not about me. It's actually about the person I'm interacting with. Could be a client, could be a partner, who that is. And I've started putting myself last, and then like always bring the people in front of me first and looking at what they're saying. Maybe they're saying something. I have to listen better. I'm improving that every day as I am self-reflecting in terms of like, okay, fine. It's not you. It's basically them, and you have to try and learn and grasp and see how you can help. Right? How can I help? I think that's what I'm learning being in the business, and like it's a complete shift of mindset for me, Ken. I mean, in terms of like getting a handcuff with a golden, like they say, it's a golden handcuff when you're in a paycheck mode. As comfortable it was, that the business world, it's completely the opposite. And there's a risk, there's loneliness, there are challenges, there is no a safe place, but at the same time, it's all about people. That's what I'm learning, Ken. I mean, if people cannot help people, then what else do we got? Like, at one point, I don't know, you might have felt it, maybe you can add to it. Like, there are days when I feel the entire world wants to come and help me out. And on some days, the exact opposite is also true. I mean, nothing happens the way we want it, actually. But how do you see the world in general?
Well, I think the one great thing I noticed about you when we first started talking, we met for that first lunch, was you're a very kind person. And I think people pick up sincerity, and people know people that make them feel good. And especially when we first met, you were a very kind person, right? You and I have had a lot of fun doing some things together. But I think kindness goes a long way. And I think sincerity, people know when you're sincere and you actually are taking an interest in them instead of wanting just to take a listen to them so you can interject and tell people what you want. So I think when you do take a sincere interest in people, they are more willing to come to you and get input from you and ask you about your perspective on things. And that's probably why you've got so many people coming to you, Vijay, to ask you or to want to help you with things, because, you've demonstrated that to them before.
Got it. And Ken, thank you. But like you won the Premier's Award of Excellence. And what does that mean? What is that kind of recognition? Please walk us through that whole experience. How was it and what it is? And please tell the whole story.
Yeah, so I don't know if that program still exists, but typically what the Premier's Award of Excellence was many years. That was many moons ago. I won that. But that Premier's Award of Excellence was normally only awarded to Government of Alberta employees. It was an internal award that they gave to their employees for working on projects. I happened to be working with the Alberta government at the time. It was the largest move in Alberta government history, office and commercial relocation. I won that move, and subsequently working on that move, it was a 9-month move. Can you imagine? Taking 9 months to move your facility over. That's how big it was. And so I was part of the team that successfully completed that, and was fortunate to have been awarded that by Premier Klein. And I got the picture somewhere in my office. It's not on my virtual background here, but I'm quite proud of that. And that was for project management. So that was for making sure that we were on time. This was a very high precision move where certain boxes had to be moved in a certain order. Can you imagine that? I think there was 300,000 boxes of items that we had to move. So to put them all back in order, to make sure that it was managed properly, that was a bit of a feather in the cap, but I'm pretty proud of that award.
Yeah, you've spent 18 years in the logistics and like and in the moving industry. How was that like? And because like the little experience that I have was like we tried moving goods from Canada to the US, and then like the raw material comes from the US and it comes to US, and here the produced goods goes back to the US. I mean, there was like the back and forth. I was into that for 6 months. I could see how much pain that is there. You have to like the paperwork is there, but at the same time, you have to make sure you cross the border and you have everything is teed up, right? I mean, there's a lot that goes and there's a timing that was involved. And my wife, she spent some time in the logistics industry, and then she was always like tense. Like that. No, this needs to go out tomorrow. I mean, we have already booked for the parking in the downtown in Toronto, and what I mean, it's a nonstop. I mean, I could really see that. Actually, you did that for 18 years. Like, how was that possible?
Yeah, actually, my moving career was actually closer to 30 years all told on my own 18 years. I was here's my journey. I was a radio and television news reporter, had this rush of blood to the brain at one point at the end of my career. And I said, I don't think this is a career that I would like to stay in. What should I do? And at that time, there was, a lot of soul searching, trying to decide what I wanted to do for a living. I had a young family, getting headhunted and placed in the moving business of all things as a dispatcher. Can you imagine me as a dispatcher in the moving business? But it was something that I got good at, did it for a couple of years, and really was restless. I was really looking to move on to something else. And I just happened to work in the corporate offices of Allied Van Lines Canada, and all of our executives were there. And I remember learning so much about the moving business. I would interact with drivers and moving agents all day on the phone. That's, wore a headset because that's how many phone calls we handled in a day. And got to learn about the moving industry and how the money was made in that business. And I remember saying to myself, I think I could do what those guys do that own moving companies. And actually spoke to my vice president of sales. And I said to him one day, I said, I'd really love to give this sales thing a try. And he's a great guy. He kind of chuckled and he said, you're a dispatcher. Right. What would you know about sales? Used to be a news reporter. What would you know about sales? I said, well, I just know that I'm getting better with people. I think you should let me try this. And he said, he was a great guy. I said, you know what? He said, yeah, okay. He says, next time there is a sales conference in town, I'm going to send you to that. And if your facilitator has an opinion that they think that you would be good at it, we'll put you into sales. We'll get you out of the corporate office and into the branch. Right. And I went to my first sales seminar. After that, he came back to see me and he said, well, yeah, spoke to the facilitator. And I said, well, what did she say? And she said to me, why isn't this guy in sales? And that's how I started off in the moving business. Started off doing corporate sales for another company and did that for a number of years and thought, there is an opportunity here where I think I could really get good at this. And if ever there's an opportunity to own my own business, I'd love to do that. And what was really funny is it's a great story today that I love to tell people about that. But how it actually all went down was I'd been working for an employer for a number of years, and, there were some signs that the branch was going to close down. And I remember, being very anxious. Again, I had a young family and a mortgage to pay. And I said to the owner of the company, a very large national company, I said, hey, if you're going to close this branch down and put us all out of work, don't you think that you probably owe it to us to let us know ahead of time so that we can look for other work? And at the time, he said, oh, no, we're not going to do that. We're not shutting that branch down. And a couple weeks later on Family Day, we all came into work because we had to work Family Day. Came into work and our owner was standing there with our pink slips telling us that we were all getting laid off because they were closing the branch. And told me to cancel everything I was doing. Monday, I had my pink slip. By Friday, I had a corporation set up and I was doing business on the following Monday. So it's a really cool story to tell now, but that whole weekend before I had to.
What year was it, Ken? Was it 2005 or?
Oh, it was back in the early 2000s. Yeah, early 2000s. But it's like I say, it's a great story to tell these days because it's almost like I planned it. Nope. Right. After I set up my business and had committed to doing moves the following Monday, I remember having 48 hours of nonstop sweating and anxiety about how I was going to pull this off on the Monday morning and worked my brains out that weekend to get my business going. And the rest is history. I never looked back. And it was one of the best experiences of my life in business was pulling that off, knowing that I did that and proving to myself that I could do it. And I'm sure there's many people that are listening to the show today that are thinking about entering the entrepreneur journey, about getting your own business started up. And it can be really scary. I was probably more scared than some of you that are listening to this. But hey, if I can do it, you guys can do it. And sometimes it takes having a mentor, right? And I was very fortunate to have some mentors that helped me in my business journey. So I'm extremely grateful for that.
Every time I see, nothing against Amazon, but like every time I see someone deliver a package for not just for Christmas or anything like around the year, a happy birthday, gift card or a toy or something that comes in the package. There's so much joy for example, when my son picks it up, there's so much joy. But I'm also like trying to look at the driver who's delivering it. He's always stressed. I can see that he has to go to the next 45 houses and go and finish that day. I can only imagine how stressful it could be for the actual business owner who's negotiating all the logistics for like thousands of packages in a week, in a month, right? How is that actually? Actually managing the logistics end to end.
Yeah.
It's a huge undertaking, isn't it?
It is. I think it's probably much like most business owners' journeys. When you are the business owner and you're watching your dollars, you want to try to do everything in your business, right? So not only did I get to wear the suit and show up and have my office and go meet with clients to do estimates and to, negotiate bigger deals, but I also got to dress down when I went to the office and jump into a truck and drive a 5-ton truck when workers didn't show up. So I've been there. I don't think anybody will ever have to convince me that, there's that phrase about being the owner and the chief bottle washer. When you're an entrepreneur, you make everything happen. And I'm really proud of that I think that teaches most business owners every aspect of their business when they're forced to do that, right? And I think that's a good thing because there's relatability. It's being in the trenches with your employees when things have to get done. And when you're a business owner, you do whatever it takes to get things done. So
you wear different hats, you mop the floor, you do everything. It's
absolutely.
Absolutely, doing that, and I totally feel it, as if like we are already I'm so feel it. Feels like my day to day already.
You get to move things when you own a moving company, right? So it was for many years that kept me in great shape, being able to move furniture. And most people would never believe it, but that is the work that I did at one time. Right. It's really kind of strange because I have a lot of people that come back to me and say, well, we really felt like while you were in that role, like the business community, there was more spotlight on it. And I think, like, why shouldn't there always be a spotlight on the business community in Edmonton, right?
Right.
As a proud capitalist myself, business does drive most everything, or a big part of what drives the economy. So I think that, giving back to my community meant being supportive of other business people here in town. And, I think that's part of a little bit of the reporter in me, because when you're a reporter, you're a professional snoop. You always want to know what's going on in other people's business. From that standpoint, too, what was really fun was meeting the people who were the mom and pop size business owners to the major corporate people, right? And, one of the things that I think was really an advantage for me was speaking many different languages. And what I mean by that is speaking the business of the small business owner and the language that the big business owners spoke.
Right.
So I think that was something I really enjoyed doing. And I loved hearing people's stories about where they came from with their business. Went and met a gentleman who started a restaurant here in town, and hearing about his journey to Canada when he came as an immigrant and didn't even know where he was going to sleep that first night that he came to Canada because the people that were supposed to meet up with him abandoned him. Hearing those stories and hear how he's a successful franchise owner today. I love those kind of stories. Your story, telling me about your story, about where you've been and how far you've come. I love hearing those stories. They're extremely inspiring. And if there was any small way that I helped anybody in business in Edmonton, maybe motivated them a little bit to do something or help them make a connection, I feel that was definitely worth my time.
Yeah. How was that like motivation to? I'm sure building your own business in the logistics industry also helped you in terms of getting the word out. Doesn't matter which organization. I think you had a natural instinct to spread the word. How did that switch get in you, actually? Where did you learn that, actually?
Well, that's a really good question. No one's ever asked me that before. I think as a foundation to my ability to do that, to communicate strategically, a lot of it goes back to my reporter days. There were some tricks that we used in media to make it look like we were everywhere at all hours of the day. So a lot of those tricks I still use today. But, I don't think there's ever been an easier time in our history to be a promoter. Social media is so huge these days. You can't ignore it. And if you are ignoring social media for your business, that's to your detriment, because I think anybody or any business that's a going concern is on social media these days and learning how to use it. Here's the thing, effectively, right? Just posting pictures isn't going to do it. And doing random posts isn't going to do it. Everything is strategic. And I think a lot of people will say they're doing things that are strategic, but they're not. And that's one of the great things about what I'm doing at AK Media is I'm sitting down and listening, because remember, that's the important skill, listening to my clients about what it is that they want to communicate and what the kind of messaging is that they want to get out of the work that they're doing with me. So listening to see what things are working for them, being able to communicate that with them is important. I'm trying to figure out some new techniques and some new things and some new styles of marketing for them to get their messages across is also something that's been something I've been able to provide to my clients at AK Media. So a lot of those things, I think, if you talk about what is the game plan, I want to know all about your business when I work with you at AK. I want to know what it is. Like, where are your successes coming from? Where have they come from? You like to see more of? What is it, the story that you have that you want me to tell for you? And once I know everything and what your expectations are, let's spend the time talking about that and on our collaboration as far as what it is that you hope to achieve. And once I have a good idea about that, and I'll bounce ideas off of you, once I know what it is that you want to achieve, then we'll go to work. We'll put a strategy together. Very strategic. Nothing's done without a purpose or a reason. And I think that's the difference between marketing, just throwing up slides, coming up with, great leaflets or whatever you're doing these days, versus actually going out and being more time effective and making sure that the posts that you're doing or the communications that you're doing or the meetings that you're attending are going to get you in the direction of helping you achieve what you want to achieve.
Got it. I mean, in any business, you're also telling a story, right? And you being in the AK Media and doing your thing with horse racing, I just want to play a video and get your feedback on it, if you don't mind. You will see it.
Emotion. We're called dramatic. If we want to play against men, we're nuts. And if we dream of equal opportunity, delusional. When we stand for something, we're unhinged.
It's super. It's going to be to calm down.
When we're too good, there's something wrong with us. And if we get angry, we're hysterical, irrational, or just being crazy. But a woman running a marathon was crazy.
Officials tried to pull her off the course.
A woman boxing was crazy. A woman dunking? Crazy. Coaching an NBA team? Crazy. A woman competing in a hijab, changing her sport, landing a double cork 1080, or winning 23 Grand Slams, having a baby, and then coming back for more? Crazy, 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 and crazy. So if they want to call you crazy, fine. Show them what crazy can do.
I love that. I love that video in terms of like dream crazier. As much as I love men, women, all of that, I want all of them to succeed equally. How important is the storytelling? And of course, like dreaming crazier is one thing, and how important is also to tell the story.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of different subjects that we're talking about, right? Like, we'll talk about that spot, but really one of the questions I ask people a lot is when we sit down, we talk about what they want to achieve. My question always comes down to this, and sometimes it sounds a bit cheesy, but I say to people, what is your dream? Like, what is it? What do you dream of doing? Like, why are you starting this business? Well, I'm starting this business because I'm good at selling widgets. Okay, that's great. But what is your end goal? Like, why do you need to sell widgets? When you make that money, what is it that you want to do? What is it you want to achieve with that life? Like, what's your lifestyle? What do you want it to do? Because I think when we're doing something sometimes without knowing why we're doing it, it's not enough to keep you in those hard times when you're struggling through your business. And that's what I love about this spot is the emotion part of talking about achievement, right? What is it that motivates you? I love being the underdog. I've always been the underdog in my life.
Right.
And I like it that way because I'm the kind of person that it motivates to achieve and to stick with things. But I think that spot that you brought up, it appeals to your emotions. It's relatable because who hasn't ever felt like the chips have been down and things are against them and they want to prove to other people or themselves that they can achieve something. And I think that's a relatable spot. Everybody can relate to being in that position, but I think everybody also dreams of achieving, as big or as small as those achievements are. Maybe it'd be what some people dream of as acceptance, right? And that's, something like they talk about, I think is one of the messages from that spot is what is it that you're battling against? Because there are a lot of battles that we go through in life. And I don't think that every motivation needs to be a battle, but I think those are definitely some things that inspire us to achieve.
Yeah. Growing up, Ken, this is just an observation. I'm 40 years old right now. I'm just observing and learning as still, I'm not perfect, but I'm still trying to learn every single day. I'm not saying it for the sake of saying it. I know it for a fact. As growing up as a child, and then the kind of curiosity and the spark that the child has, or like a 3-year-old, 5-year-old, 8-year-old has, and when they become like 15-year-old, 18-year-old, 20-year-old, I think when life kicks in. I mean, if you ask a child who's like 5 years old or 7 years old, what do you want to do? I mean, they have so many things to do. Say, I want to be a police officer. I want to be a pilot. I want to be so many things. I think they are grasping new information. They want to do that, right? And when you're actually in your like early 20s or like mid 20s, I mean, the things that you want to do actually kind of dramatically changes actually. How is that whole experience actually? Because like, how do you see that? And how did it play a role in terms of like the thoughts being a child versus actually growing up and reflecting society and taking it? They say ignorance is bliss, but at the same time, when you actually start to learn things and how the society operates and the way you want to make life choices dramatically changes a lot.
Yeah, I think that we're all shaped by our how things go in our life, right? Like I think anybody who has not had to go through adversity in their life has been extremely blessed. But I think people that do go through adversity are equally blessed because there are things that they have to overcome. Growing up as a child, I'm fortunate because even though there were things that happened to me personally in my life or my family, I always still had a focus since I was young. And I knew very young, and I had people who encouraged me when I was young, that communication was a gift of mine and that I needed to pursue that. And so maybe I think this might be part of what you were asking me, but I think sometimes people get to their adult life and they don't even know what they want to do when they grow up, right? I was very fortunate because I did have a clear focus on what I wanted to do from a very young age. And I did, and I achieved it, right? I ended up becoming a communicator, a professional in broadcasting. Did I know that I was going to be doing this and helping people with their businesses, promoting their businesses, doing community building, community work, working with the homeless? No. Had no idea that's where that was going to lead me. But I think that, if we are open as we go through our journeys to learning skills and trying new things, one thing I'm very proud of is I've never been afraid to try new things. I might have sucked at them when I tried them, but I've always been willing to try new things. And I think from those experiences, I've been able to leverage this whole arsenal of different skills that I've accumulated, and maybe I'm not the best at them, but I do have some experience at them. And that's really kind of led me on a journey and given me options in my life of where to go with that. I think the world has changed so much as you were talking about society and things these days. I think also if you have a set of values and you are true to those values, no matter what, it doesn't matter what you do, you hold on to those values, get them right. I think that you can be successful no matter what you try. And if you try, again, there's nothing not worth trying, right? You're going to get some valuable experience out of that.
Yeah. I mean, I remember posting something in terms of like the regret is not failing. I think the regret is not trying. I love that quote and I had to post it because like failure in terms of like, I mean, people shouldn't get it wrong. I think failure, the teacher, the way I think about it is like failure is probably one of the best teachers. The kind of lessons you learn from, it could be a small failure or a big one. If you're not like failing in the small things, it means you're not trying new things. That's how I feel about it. Because like when I was not comfortable being in front of the camera, Ken, at all. No, I'm not even comfortable.
You?
Yeah, I'm not at all. But I got to try it. And every time, I mean, for anyone listening, I think, and if you're looking for value, every time I got into the to the mode of discomfort, that's where I saw growth happening. And every time I did the opposite, where I was comfortable, growth wasn't happening. Maybe there's something to it. I don't know. That's
Well, if anybody should write a book about experiences and trying lots of different things, that's you. I think there's so many lessons I've learned about your journey, especially since you've come to North America, on things that you've tried. What a story. You should write that as a book, Vijay.
Now, when I have the time, Ken, someday. I'm not uncomfortable writing, but thank you for that. But I'm saying, the things that we could learn from the child. The child, when it is a child, when it actually falls down, it knows itself to grab itself and then walk back. And when we grow as adults, that becomes very difficult, actually. We forget that trait, right? When you fall down, you have to pick up ourselves. It becomes so difficult to pick ourselves and walk back again. And some funny little things that I was noticing during COVID during COVID, we couldn't see anyone because everyone was masked up. And I was in Ontario at the time, in Toronto, West GTA. But I was in a grocery store at the time. Only children were not masked up because they were not wearing masks. There was this child so happily smiling at a grocery store, and she was not thinking about what happened, and she's not worried about what's going to happen. She's neither in the past nor in the future. She was absolutely present in that moment, and I could see that the spark in that child. I think that is something it told me something. Oh, you got to learn from these kids. You got to be in the moment. And as much as you have to plan for the year, plan for the quarter, absolutely. But also being in the moment counts a lot, because a lot of people are either worried about the future or depressed about what happened, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. No. And I think that's part of being real, being relatable to people, especially when you want to get into business, is having that youthful innocence, that willingness to learn and ask questions. That attracts people when you want to work with them in business, right? Is people, when they see that there's a relatability, that I wouldn't call it necessarily the innocence of that, but I think when people know that you can be at any level with them and learn and still be like that when you were, have that childlike inquisitiveness. I think that's really important.
Yeah. I want to show you one other clip. This is something I'm sure you will enjoy. This is from the 2025 Saudi Cup. I'll get your feedback after we watch the video together.
The best of Asia, the best of North America, the best of Europe, the Saudi Cup, $20 million, Richard Oils. And they're away for the Saudi Cup, a little bit slow away, Ushbata Zoro. And early on it is Walk of Stars who moves forward. Romantic Warrior jumped well and just moves off the rail to get some clear daylight and avoid the kickback. Looking for Forever Young, who's broken well and is right across the field as well. Al Muzmak is racing in a handy position with Defunded through the first 200. They're being followed by Ramjet, and also there is Wait to Excel. As last year, Ushbata Zoro's the one off the back end. Also towards the back at this stage is Rattle and Roll, well behind as they make their way through the first 400 metres. Forever Young in the maroon colours, but it's Al Muzmak towards the outside. Hong Kong Hearts back in third place, Ushbata Zoro, Rattle and Roll from the back. Wilson Tesoro next with Ramjet Rail as they approach the bend. So out in the lead, Forever Young on the outside, disputing it with Walk of Stars. Right round the outside, Romantic Warrior will be 5 wide into the turn, but is poised under James McDonald as the big two move through. Forever Young, Romantic Warrior sweeps up on the outside for Hong Kong. They lock horns, and it's Romantic Warrior who finds most initially from Forever Young in second place. The two of them are clear from Wilson Tesoro and Factor Cheval, two of the great racehorses in the world. And at the moment, Romantic Warrior holds sway. His rider looks across. Forever Young is trying to close and is beginning to do so. Romantic Warrior from the outside. Forever Young has got to within 3 parts of a length. Romantic Warrior, Forever Young, a race for the ages, and Forever Young rounds off a terrific night for Japan. Runs down Romantic Warrior.
One of the most epic duels of this racing season. That was a fantastic race. I had been following Forever Young. Forever Young, the Japanese horse, was my pick in last year's Kentucky Derby. Came flying late, but just didn't have it, finished third. And this was an epic battle. This was a story about the best dirt horse in the world, Forever Young, going up against the greatest or the best turf horse this year with Romantic Warrior from Hong Kong. And so many storylines in that. I love storylines. I'm a big fan of that. I love when I'm able to find out those storylines about the struggle and the battle that are going on. Here we've got two of the best horses in the world right now battling it out on foreign territory and in Saudi Arabia, and the one coming up better than the other looked like was going to lose it, but battled back. Didn't that make you feel good, seeing that horse come back from behind?
Loved it.
Yeah. I was great. That's what I love about horse racing, right? It's the story about achievement, about overcoming, and in this case, like physically overcoming, coming down that stretch and battling back to win it. I love when I'm able to tell that story when I'm announcing horse races, right? It's the same way, making a race exciting for people.
Yeah. How did you find the announcer at the Saudi Cup? Did you like the announcement? Would you have done it differently? Just being announcer yourself.
Yeah, he was fantastic. I think some of the best announcers in the world are over there in the Middle East, as well as I love watching races in Australia. They are pros down there at calling races. They've got 20-some horses routinely in every race, and here I am calling races with 5, 6, 8 horses. Definitely very skilled. But that was definitely a great race. I'm glad you brought that one.
Got it. Now, to tell us something about horse racing that we don't know, Ken, because I was the first race of horse racing. I watched it with you on the day of Kentucky Derby in Edmonton. So tell us something about horse racing that people wouldn't know otherwise.
Well, horse racing is so much more than going and showing up and watching a horse run around the track. Like, I think most people take for granted that when they show up at the track, these horses are ready to run. There's people that are riding the horses, they're going around, and there are people that serve you food when you go. Horse racing is a massive industry that employs tens of thousands of people in Alberta. And there's ways that different people, stakeholders in the industry are involved. The people that actually own the horses. There are people that train the horses. They're the people that provide the supplies, the food, the maintenance of the track. There's commentators. There's a wagering industry that's involved. So there's just so many pieces of the industry. And people say, well, how could there be possibly tens of thousands of people involved? It's a whole business community out there, just like any other kind of industry. So that's what most people don't know about. What also people don't know about is how easy it is to become involved in horse racing, whether you want to be a super fan like myself when I first started out, or if you want to be an owner of horses. There are opportunities to own a piece of a horse in what they call a syndicate. And that's how I got involved in horse ownership. Was I went to a seminar one day and learned about how to own a racehorse. And they said, here's an opportunity for a couple $100. You can own part of this horse and have your name on the ownership. And that's how I got into ownership of a horse. It was an opportunity, very low risk, but to be able to have my name on that and meet some great people that I still have as friends today that I used to own racehorses with, and to be able to go down and see them. And I was recently down at Turf Paradise in Phoenix on vacation, where I got to guest announce, which, by the way, was on my bucket list. Be able to go down there and meet some people that I used to be in partnership with racehorses. It opens up a whole big world. If you love to see the world, there's opportunities for you to go travel and watch your horses run in races. And I think that's just a great way to be a professional sports franchise owner, is to be a racehorse or racehorse owner.
Racehorse owner. I mean, got it. Because when people are raising the horses in their farm and things like that, I think it's beyond owning a dog, right? It's beyond owning a cat. I mean, it's more than that. I mean, you're basically grooming a horse to be able to go and compete and make sure it's taken care in winter and all throughout the year. So you have raced horses yourself, Ken? Like you had that opportunity, you said?
Yeah, I had race horses that raced throughout North America, and it was fun to be able to travel to different parts of the continent to see my horses run and cheer them on. And, I think especially horse racing in our province in Alberta, that's like, we're talking the backbone of Alberta. We're known out west here as our rural communities. Like that's a big thing. And, even my Debbie, her family goes back at least 4 or 5 generations of breeding horses and showing horses and being involved in the Calgary Stampede, which was a huge, great experience for me last summer. I had such a blast. I can't wait to do that again. But that's an important part of community in Alberta, is livestock, is horses, that whole Western spirit. That's really important in Alberta. I'm glad that I've had some background into it, because now I actually have a reason to wear my cowboy boots and my hat to go visit the horses with Debbie.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I mean, I loved spending time with you in the horse race during the Derby. Tell us about the relationship between the owner and the horse, Ken, in terms of it's different than owning a dog or a cat or a pet, right? I mean, this is more than a pet. Right? Well, you're basically creating, the horse has its own career, right?
Yeah. Well, in the world of horse racing, horses are not your pet when you're an owner, right? They are magnificent athletes that are well taken care of. And I challenge anybody who wonders how the horse racing industry works. I'd be glad to have you as my guest at the racetrack for you to come and meet the trainers and the owners and the people that are involved in racing and our equine athletes. But that relationship is, would love to own the horse, but we leave all of the training and all of the guidance up to our training staff and their caretakers of those horses to have them ready for races. And yeah, you get to pop down a barn once in a while to visit your horse and maybe feed him her a mint or a carrot. But they're definitely athletes that you would treat like even a human athlete the same, right? Very, very much well taken care of. And I really enjoyed that experience. And I had the opportunity to be involved with some great trainers. And my trainers always let us feel like we were involved in the mapping of that horse's progress and where that horse went. So that was fun. That was the closest I'll probably experience to feeling like a professional sports franchise owner.
Got it. No, that's wonderful. I mean, so we spoke about logistics. We spoke about horse racing. Tell us about AK Media, please.
Well, I've been busier, probably more days than I've not been busy in the last 3 months. But a couple of the projects that I've been working on have been in horse racing, of course. Recently worked with the Standardbred Association on their awards show, producing the show, creating video bios and profiles for them for awards night, moving on to working on with other associations right now on their projects. And then doing some fill-ins. So at New Year's Eve, I was calling races back up here in Edmonton. Usually in the summer, you'll find me down in Lacombe at the track on 2 as the regular track announcer there. And then also this fall, did a couple of dates where I did paddock interviews. So had our big night, which was the super finals night and for the Alberta Standardbreds at Century Mile. And I was there in the paddock doing post-race interviews. I'm going to post a few of those clips soon because I love capturing the emotions of people as they get ready to race their horse. And then afterwards, the highs and the lows. And that's one of the things that I really enjoy about what I do at AK Media is bringing those emotions to people so that they can experience the same things I experienced, except tape delay because they are recorded. And, I think those are some things that I'm able to help people do with AK is to be able to tell their story with the same emotion they tell me. And that's really rewarding. That's a really fun part of what I do with my business.
Is there an expansion for AK? Is K the Ken there?
AK stands for Announcer Ken. Pretty.
There you go.
Pretty simple. Yeah, absolutely. So right now, AK Media is my personal platform to help businesses grow. And whether that's a platform for doing some marketing with them, doing some video production, also working with them to promote their businesses through helping them make those connections.
Right.
Being born and raised in Edmonton, having been a business person most of my adult life in Edmonton, I do have a number of connections now expanding down into Calgary, where I've got an extensive network as well. So people will often seek me out to help them make connections through AK Media. So whatever it is, maybe it's business coaching. A number of people have come to me as well and said, this aspect of business development or communication, can you help me learn what it is that you do? And so I do have a very broad arsenal of things that I can help people do, but really it's my personal platform right now. And if any of you feel who are watching that there might be an opportunity for us to work together on some projects, I love variety. No 2 days are ever the same, but to work with people to help them promote their business and help them move their businesses forward. That's really what my specialty here is. It just happens to be that I've been really fortunate to work on a lot of work in horse racing. And another thing as well with AK Media, part of it is that community building that we talked about, Vijay, working with affordable housing and homelessness. That has been something that is a passion of mine that I've been working on for the last, over 15 years. I worked with Marie Soroka from the Jasper Place Health Center to build Alberta's first transitional housing apartment for the homeless. And that was in Edmonton back in 2010. So we have moved on from that and are working on other affordable housing initiatives. That's part of where my connections in AK Media have really helped. And right now we are still working on developing affordable housing with the Jasper Place Wellness Center. They recently were asked by the provincial government again to restart their clinic in the West End. So a lot of great work that Maurice and Taylor Soroka are working on with the homeless and in affordable housing. Really, they're the experts in my opinion, in the province on helping. But we've been able to bring some heavy hitters into that. Royal Alec Hospital Foundation, Dr. Louis Francis Scuddy from the Royal Alec Hospital Emergency Unit, also Hubert and Joshua Lau from Trust Bix to work on that as well. So them and a number of benefactors or philanthropists as well working together on and homelessness. Then it really is one of my dreams is to see homelessness eliminated in our communities. And we've got a ways to go, lots of work, but we need people doing the right things for the right reasons to help us with that. And we don't want to manage homelessness anymore. We want to help eradicate that. So some things that I'm very passionate about and that I can help through contacts.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, every time when I see a homeless person, I feel we are doing something wrong as a society and failing them. There is something that the society is not doing right. I mean, it could be a sister or a brother or a friend that we're seeing in the downtown or anywhere, right? Every time I see that, I not just feel bad for them, giving them a meal or like, I don't think that helps. I think as a society, there's something deeply wrong why the reason they have gone homeless. Either it's like extreme inflation, something they couldn't afford. I don't know what the reason is, but I've always had that question, but I don't have the answer. Like, what are your thoughts, Ken? Why do you think that exists? And it's been increasing in the last couple of decades, I would see.
Well, I think that judgment is not what I'm here for. I'm not here to second guess why people are in the situations they are in. All I know is that at some point in our lives, we all need a helping hand. In whatever circumstance. And if you're a person who says that you don't, hey, all the power to you. That's great. Then you had a great life and you've never needed help from anybody. No matter what we do, if we're able to extend grace to people and help them out in their situations, I think it's exactly what I was talking about earlier, which is not managing homelessness, but it is actually to eradicate, and to help get people homed, to get them unhomeless. And that's a tall task, but I do believe that we can make a significant dent to that. And really what's going to help do that is more housing. We need more affordable housing for people. We can't, have people that are still homeless and not help them without, fundamentally fixing that problem first, which is getting them housed. I think there are a lot of people that want to help. I learned through that initiative that I started was that there are so many business people in Edmonton that want to help, so many community organizations that want to help. But they don't know how to, and they don't know how to coordinate so that they're not overlapping and duplicating things that are already being done. And I think that, the reason why I've partnered with Murray and Taylor at Jasper Place Wellness is they have solutions. We just need to help them execute. And we're not looking for somebody to reinvent the wheel. We know what needs to be done. We just need the people that are willing. And so, I look forward to always open to having a conversation with people about that and how we can help resolve that in Edmonton. But it starts with just getting together and throwing some ideas around.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Love the initiative. Thanks for you. Thank you for your service. Thanks for doing that. Yeah. So the next section is like, I want to take you through an AI section where I want to like you can tell the AI what you need to be drawn, and then maybe we'll draw something cool, and then like we'll have a question around it. How about that?
Absolutely. Sounds great.
All right. You able to see my screen? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So what do you need to be drawn, Ken? You're the boss.
Draw a horse.
Draw me a horse. That's it. Yeah. Let's see what it comes up with. It normally comes up with something interesting to talk about. AI, the way it is like advancing, it's actually mind-blowing. And like okay, there you go. What kind of horse is this, Ken? You know way better than.
Draw a horse with a podcaster.
Draw me a horse with a podcaster. All right. It's thinking, and it's second guessing itself, I guess. Let's see what it comes up with.
AI is amazing.
Yeah, it really is. And okay, there you go.
There you go. I was waiting for the picture of you to show up with the horse.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's beautiful actually. I mean, there's something special about the horse itself. I mean, it's the character to it. I mean, the agility, the athletic nature that you mentioned. It's more of an athlete, right? Yeah. What is special having horse around? I mean, like, do people actually raise horses just for like they raise other animals like a dog or something? Do the people do that, or all people who are raising horses, they are always about like having the horse race in a tournament or something?
Well, there's a couple of schools of thought, right? Like I think some people would argue that horses are livestock, just as cows and pigs are livestock. Other people believe that the reason why we have so many horses in the world today is because they are raised to do things like race, to be involved in sport, to be involved in other countries where maybe a horse is raised so that it can work, right? So I think the view in the Western world is probably mostly for racing, because we don't use horses like we used to work on a farm or things like that.
Yeah.
So I think that, there's lots of different views of what people have, what horses are for. I think in Europe and Asia, they have different views of what horses should be. Maybe it's a food source, right? So, I think that owning a horse, if you want it as a pet in the Western world, people have horses as pets all the time, right? And take them off for riding. So it's whatever way you like to enjoy horses. But especially like in the world that I'm involved with horse racing, definitely horses are animals that are meant to run, and there's nothing more beautiful than seeing a horse run. I think that's, in my opinion, why they are born. They are born to run.
Yeah. I mean, it also begs me to ask you the question. I mean, when you're actually announcing a race, right, Ken? I mean, like there's an adrenaline rush, right? I mean, when the horses are running, the closer it gets to the finish line, there's a rush, right? And people love that about it. And I think is the people actually on the track. They're on it. The jockeys, they're doing it. And I think the major part is lifted up. That the part of that adrenaline rush is the announcer, like people like you do it. So how does that magic happen? Actually, is it infused? The magic is infused.
Well, it's funny because as you've seen when I call races, it's telling the story. They call it the toughest sport to announce. It's the hardest sport to announce in the world because you are thinking ahead of the words and the descriptions. And is it about vocabulary? Well, that's part of it. Is it about your reactions? That's another part of it. It's an ability to watch a race and learn how to describe that. But especially towards the end, as I describe it, it's a crescendo that goes up. So when they're coming to the finish line, and every time I do that and bring them to the finish line, to that crescendo, it's about creating that excitement. And quite honestly, for me, it's a rush. Every race I get to call is a rush because as I build that excitement up to the end and they come down to it, it's I love telling that story about how a horse or how a race has developed. And that's something that, not everybody can do. And I'm definitely not the best in the world at it, but I've learned how to develop that skill to the point where this is really why the human brain is so amazing. During racing season, when I'm really on it and I'm not calling a race, I'll have a conversation with somebody and I'll say something, and it could be something witty, but I'll say something and I'll walk away and I'll say, did I really just say that? Because my brain is already working seconds ahead of me even thinking about what I said. It's just the natural, right? And that's kind of freaky sometimes, but I find really when I'm on it and it's racing season, that'll happen so often where I can say things and not even know I said them, but they're fine. They make total sense what I said.
Yeah, I mean, just like a lighthearted question. I mean, like when you're speaking to someone on the phone and you want to really rush them and you're on a race to get to something, do you use your announcer skills on the phone?
You know what? I used to. I can still speak very quickly. I don't know if I'd be a good auctioneer, but I do speak very quickly sometimes. And I'm able to pace it. So sometimes, yes, I can finish a conversation very quickly with people and still sound like I'm not slurring my words.
So the next section is like we'll go through a rapid fire. Some are rapid fire, some are not. Some are like deep questions. Some opportunity to get to know you a little bit. So that's the whole aspect of this, right? What is your like go-to karaoke song after a long day of announcing races?
My go-to karaoke song, well, I actually try to avoid karaoke when at all possible because I'm not a good singer at all, which surprises people when they say you can announce but you can't sing. But I think in the car, in the loudest, I'm probably singing Don't Stop Believin' by Journey in the car. That would be my favorite go-to for karaoke. Who doesn't like that?
So is it horse racing or a great meal? Which gets your heart racing more?
Well, that's a tough one because, as you know, I'm a huge foodie and I love talking and examining food. I think I find food exciting but calming. If I want to enjoy something and really get my adrenaline going, then it's horse racing for sure.
Got it. What is the spiciest food you've ever tried, and did you survive it?
Oh my goodness. The most spicy food I ever had one time was a free wing challenge at, I think, at Hudson's. They had an offer at lunch where if you could finish all these wings, you didn't pay for them. And I should have known they were going to be spicy. Because when you get spicy food and it's brown, it's not red, it's brown, that's when you know you're in trouble. And I think I ate 2 wings and I wasn't able to finish it. That was by far the hottest, most spicy food I have ever had.
Got it. What is the best snack that you would sneak into a broadcast booth?
The best snack is a bucket of chicken.
Mm.
I'm a huge fried chicken connoisseur. When I travel, one of the parts of traveling that I look forward to the most is exploring and finding places to eat. My mom, by far, made the best fried chicken in the world, but anytime I go anywhere, I try to find a place where I can find that particular dish, and haven't found it as good as my mom's yet. I think mine's a pretty close second, but bucket of chicken is my snack that I bring up there. A little messy, but that's what I would do.
Got it. Love it. What is the favorite race that you ever called, and what is something that you're proud sharing about it all the time?
My favorite race that I ever enjoyed calling, you know what? It have to be a close second, but I recently had the chance to be guest announcer at Turf Paradise in Phoenix, and that was a blast. I had an absolute thrill calling that. But I would probably say the first race I ever called back in 2019 was probably my favorite because I'd never done it before. And the making sure that I did a good job the first time around, making believers of the people who hired me and said, okay, we'll take a chance on you. You've never done it before, but we're going to take a chance on you. And that day, my boss saying to me, before you called that race, Ken, I was nervous. I'm no longer nervous. That's what he said to me. I'm no longer nervous. That was probably my favorite race to call.
Right. So this section is slightly deep questions, like the slightly beyond fun questions, slightly deep questions. So if there was one word that defines Ken, what would that be?
The word that describes Ken, tenacious. Absolutely tenacious. I've never usually let a lot stop me, and I'm a fighter. And if I want to try something, I'll try it. And if I'm not good at it, I will be determined to get better at it, but I never give up. It's one of the things I've shared with my girls. I've always said to my daughters, you're a G, you don't give up.
Is there a moment or a toughest moment that you ever went through and that you saw the light end of the tunnel and you survived? Is there something that you would share, any lessons from such a moment?
Oh, well, I could write a phone book size about struggles and determination. If there was ever anything where I saw the light at the end of the tunnel was when I got into the broadcasting business, and I had a very prominent broadcaster in Edmonton agree to meet with me about working for them. This broadcaster was very nice to me, but then a couple of weeks later sent me a letter in the mail telling me that I should never, ever, ever entertain a career in broadcasting because I was never going to be any good at it. He said to me, you should get out of it while you can and look for other employment. Did I see the light in the at the end of the tunnel? The whole time I was working my way back up through the industry, that was a big motivator for me, to the point where 2 years later, when I did make it back to Edmonton and was working in a major market, was able to run into that broadcaster and say, hey, it's me. I'm here.
There you go. Right. I mean, the world is like, again, it's also like how you see people is how they are actually, in a way. I mean, like, it's not always true, but it's I mean, it's like a mirror also. I mean, like, if you're bringing a positive aspect to it, most people are good. At least I've seen, Ken. I mean, most people, 90+% people are actually good. And some are expressive, some are not. Some are like extroverts, some are not, right? So the opposite. But I think most people seem to be in the good category, actually. And because they look different, speak different, wear different clothes, but they all want the same things pretty much.
Yeah, I think so. I think most people they love to see you succeed. Most people love to see other people succeed and achieve. But you don't know. People have maybe had bad days, or they've just had situations that made them be the way that they are. But I think that we all have an opportunity to lift each other up. Why would
100%.
you be here?
Yeah, 100%. Totally agree. 200% agree. What is what's the kindest thing that anyone has ever done for you, or if there's the kindest thing anyone ever said to you?
Oh my goodness. Honestly, so many people have said so many kind things to me that I think it's wonderful that people see the great things that other people can do for each other. I think I would just say in general, people who have said kind things to me would be something like, I was really inspired by what you told me, or that you encouraged me. And, you don't remember that you told me that years ago, and I'm back telling you that I made it, and it was because you said something to me. And it might not have been a really big thing, it might not have been the biggest thing, but it was something that I said to them that just kept their hope alive. It just kept them going until they were able to achieve. So that's probably the kindest thing anybody's ever said to me about how I've maybe helped them. Yeah.
And you've interviewed so many people in the broadcasting journey on AK Media, and you share stories, and people come up with so many different stories, and you've heard to so many stories in the chamber also. Do you want to talk about any one or two particular stories that almost completely flipped your worldview in terms of after listening to their story? Wow, and made you think about it a lot?
I've led a really interesting life. When I was a news reporter, I interviewed lots of different kinds of people, and people who were historic, politicians. I remember interviewing prime ministers, Brian Mulroney, John Turner, Jean Chrétien, a number of politicians. Interviewed sports people. I had the good fortune of covering the Oilers, their last Stanley Cup win back in the day. And in those days, we didn't have cell phones with cameras on them to record anything. And who was to know that all those players would be Hall of Famers and legends, the great Gretzky, right? And so I felt very fortunate to have interviewed people. I think probably one of the biggest lessons or one of the biggest things that I take away from my interviewing of people over the years is what I've learned is that, and I don't know if this answers your question, probably the most significant thing I've taken out of that whole experience is that people are just people. Right. Sometimes we walk into a room and we're starstruck. We're starstruck by people that we know in business or as celebrities. The biggest thing I took away from that was just knowing that people were people. Gretzky was just Gretzky. Messier was just Messier. They were just regular guys like you and me. That really helped me get some perspective on the world and not be as scared to talk to people because they were just people too. Right. So is that the answer? Does that answer your question?
No, it does answer my question. I mean, there is no fixed answer. Well, your answer is the perfect answer. So that's how it is. So I mean, you meet a lot of people, thousands of them through your career in your life, and they brush off something with you every time you meet with them, and they share their stories and things like that. And there's also a moment of not inspiring, admiring, learning, and at the same time giving feedback. A lot of these things. But at the same time, when people are actually seeing success, because success is not an overnight thing at all, from what I'm experiencing, it's not actually, but it's more about showing up, it's being in the moment, it's more about perseverance on a lot. What is your definition of excellence or success as Ken would define it?
Of success is persevering through the journey. And coming out of that, not all messed up, but coming out of it thankful for the lessons that you learned from it. Because I think that we all do go through struggles. Sometimes, hey, if everything was easy in the world, that'd be great, but we wouldn't have any great stories to talk about. But I think success to me, the measure of that is achieving, setting out to do something, having a game plan, going through that. The dream is always what you focus on. The goal can be adjusted. You can always change the way you get to that dream. But watching people persevere and get there, I think that's my definition of success. Watching people be tenacious and achieve what they set out to do, no matter what.
Thank you, Ken. Just a hypothetical question here. I mean, at a mind level, not physically, at a mind level, if you and the horse are racing, if your younger self, in your 18-year-old, 20-year-old Ken is racing with a horse, at the speed, who would win the race?
My 20-year-old self versus racing a horse? The horse, of course, if I could, use that word, being unbridled. I was very much an unbridled young man. Lack of discipline, lack of follow through on things. I think that, of course, the horse would have won that. I think I would consider myself a bit of a thoroughbred these days. Because I do think that, I've taken all of that experience and I'm very focused and tenacious with that. But no, my 20-year-old self, not even recognizable compared to, the experiences that have shaped who I am today.
Got it. So how do you say good morning in Chinese?
Dosin.
That's perfect. Ken, where's the best place to find you?
Best place to find me is on LinkedIn. Of course, it's spelled Ken, and the last name is G-E-E, or you can email me, announcerken@gmail.com is probably the best way to reach out to me. But I'd love to hear from you guys. And so many, I do want to take this opportunity to thank so many of you who have reached out to me over the last 3 months, making sure that I'm keeping keeping busy and I'm okay. And I probably haven't gotten back to you necessarily as quick as I should have because I am very busy about this, but I'm still loving seeing the stories from all of my friends in business in Edmonton and Calgary and their successes. I'm here cheering you on. Trust me, I see everything that's going on, especially too you with your new AI focus on your business. VJ, always excited to see what you're up to because you're definitely a mover and a shaker. But that's how people can reach out to me. Come out to the races. Track on too. Starting in July, you can come for a barn tour. I'd love to show you around and introduce you to the horses that you can bet on before you watch them race.
Yeah, Ken, my friend, my brother, it's been an absolute pleasure to sit down with you. I've been wanting to do this for a long time now. I love our conversations, actually. Absolute honor and pleasure, Ken. Thank you so much.
Pleasure was all mine. Let's do racing again this summer, okay?
There you go.